So today, we're not talking about building with bricks and mortar. We're talking about something way more lasting, the architecture of a leadership legacy. Let's get into it. Let's just start with a really big question. We see good leaders all over the place, right? But what is it that really elevates someone to being great? What makes their impact stick around long after they've moved on? Well, the answer is kind of simple, but it's also incredibly difficult to actually do. It all comes down to the gap between having a good idea and actually taking action. See, greatness isn't just about the big, flashy ideas. It's about translating those ideas into the small, consistent things you do every single day. That's what builds a real culture. And the good news? There's actually a method to it. So in this explainer, we're going to break down a really powerful but simple framework to help you bridge that exact gap, to turn your best intentions into a legacy that you can actually see and feel. The whole structure really just rests on 4 core principles. I want you to think of them as the pillars holding up the entire legacy that you're trying to build. So here they are: granting significance, signaling standards, sharing resources, and building living systems. These are the 4 big ones. Let's dig into what each of these really means, one by one. Okay, first up, granting significance. And there is a really important detail here. This is not about just giving out empty praise like, hey, great job. It's about genuinely connecting what someone does to the bigger picture, to the mission, making them feel absolutely essential because of what they bring to the table. It's about giving them meaning, not just a pat on the back. And that leads us perfectly into our second pillar, signaling standards. This is where recognition gets really strategic. When you grant that significance, what are you actually recognizing? Is it just that someone worked hard? Or is it that they worked hard in a way that perfectly showed one of your core values? Every time you recognize someone, you're sending a message to the whole team that says, this right here, this is what matters to us. Now, pillar number 3. This one requires a pretty big mental shift. A lot of leaders almost instinctively hold on to resources. We're talking budget, information, even access to people, like it's their own personal property. This pillar challenges you to flip that script. It's about seeing those things as community tools. Your job isn't to hoard them, it's to get them into the hands of your team, to empower everybody. And that brings us to our 4th and final pillar, build living systems. Look, a real legacy isn't some static monument that you build and then preserve behind glass. No way. It's a system, a culture that keeps growing, adapting, and getting better long after you're gone. This chart really nails the difference. A monument is static, right? It's fixed. It honors the past. It's all about what was. But a living system, that's dynamic, it's always evolving, and it's built for the future. So you have to ask yourself, which one of those do you really want to leave behind? Okay, so we've got our 4 pillars. We get the theory, now for the important part. How do we turn all this into a practical strategy that you can actually go out and use tomorrow? Because that's the key, isn't it? These aren't just some abstract ideas to think about. They are the literal building blocks for your leadership plan. If you focus on these 4 things, you've got a clear, powerful roadmap for everything you do. But hey, a plan is completely useless if you don't act on it. So where do you even begin? Well, this whole framework boils down to 2 immediate high-impact commitments you can make. These are your first steps. So here they are. It's pretty straightforward. Number 1, change how you recognize people. Starting tomorrow, instead of just saying good job, try saying something like, the way you handled that customer issue was amazing because it perfectly reflects our standard of putting the customer first. See the difference? That connects pillars 1 and 2. Then number 2, open up access. Find just one resource you control. Maybe it's a report, a contact list, anything, and make it a shared tool for the whole team. That's pillar 3 right there in action. And honestly, that's it. That's the start. Your legacy doesn't begin with some huge grand vision on a poster. It begins right here, with 2 small intentional changes to how you act every day. It's doable. You can start literally today. So, let's take a second and actually think about this. What is it for you? Is it information? Is it control over the budget? Access to senior people? Be really honest with yourself. Which resource are you holding on to just a little too tightly? And that really brings us to our final thought. The choice between building a monument to yourself or creating a living system for others, That choice is made in these tiny everyday moments. So my question for you is, what is the first step, that first small intentional change that you're going to take to start building your living legacy?